What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. My voice is like 70% back. Still don't feel great. Scott's in a better connection system, but that doesn't matter. What matters is, officially, the Minnesota Twins are the Yankees slump buster, okay? That team cannot beat the New York Yankees. I don't care who is wearing a Minnesota Twins uniform. Johan Santana, Kirby Puckett could miraculously come back.
Kirby Puckett ain't walking through that door.
Exactly. Torrey Hunter, that's pretty much exhausted my knowledge of
Mauer.
Well, that was after the.
I'm just saying.
Anyway,
it was not after Torrey Hunter. He was there with. They were there with Torrey Hunter.
Anyway,
listen to this statistic that I just retweeted from Aaron Gleeman, who I believe is a Minnesota Twins podcaster and possibly works for The Athletic. Minnesota Twins are now 39-116. That's a 252% winning percentage versus the Yankees since 2002. The Twins' winning percentage is .513 versus all other teams since 2002. All three managers in that time have sub-300 winning percentages versus the New York Yankees. Ron Gardenhire, 269. Paul Molitor, 259. And Rocco Baldelli, the pride of Rhode Island, 182.
The pride of Rhode Island. Okay, Rhode Island's known for three things: Dell's Lemonade, Narragansett Beer,
Rocco
Baldelli.
and a 182 winning percentage against the New York Yankees.
It's amazing. It flies in the face of anyone that believes in do. I mean, found...
I'm going to stay on the narrative, though, because knock on wood, you don't talk about the narrative working, so maybe I fucked it already, but... I'm still scared. At some point, it's going to flip, and it's going to flip bad. No, at some point.
It's never going to flip.
Well, I'm going to stay on my tune.
Like you just said, the Minnesota Twins have been a very good baseball team over the past 20 years, and they have a sub-300 winning percentage against the Yankees. That's almost impossible to do. The Twins have won baseball games this year, okay? They're fighting for a playoff spot. The Yankees, coming into this series, could not have been playing worse baseball. Some of the worst baseball that you and I have seen this team play, and we watched this team play in 2016 with old broke-ass players in the lineup, okay? The lineup that they trotted out in the doubleheader yesterday, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Cabrera, Judge, Glaber, Guzman, Andujar, IKF, Florial, Higgy, Peraza. That was their game one lineup on Wednesday.
At one point in the second doubleheader, I think it was the game one because it went like 9 hours. Game one, Michael Kay called it out. At bat, I think was Peraza. On base was Oswaldo Cabrera, and at second base was Florial. In the middle, in a September baseball meaningful baseball game,
not September call-ups, just cruising into the playoffs.
You got three guys that are AAA mainstays this year in the heat of a race down the stretch in the Bronx. Pretty crazy.
The lineup obviously had Judge, who's the MVP, had Glaber, who did have a really good day yesterday, but had been didn't they say on the broadcast yesterday he has the worst OPS in the second half for any like full-time starter or something like that? It's like a 500 OPS, not just on the Yankees, like in Major League Baseball. He's been one of the worst, if not the worst, offensive starting player in baseball in the second half. And they had IKF, who, of course, did hit the grand slam. We will get to that in a little bit. But that was the only legitimate Major League players. The rest, they had rookies, they had prospects, they had quad A players. I mean, Guzman, you kind of had to feel bad for him. He was 0 for, double play in a really crucial spot in that first game. And then
I did not. Hold on a second. Stop. I did not feel bad for him at that point by any means, because that dude dogged it down the line, was ducking out of balls. Like, you struck out 4 times. Okay, I got a little place in my compassionate heart for you. And then all of a sudden you do that and you ground into a double play, and you're not like hauling ass down the line to avoid a double play. I got nothing for you. Get out of my face. Take off the uniform. Never come back.
Okay, let me rephrase. I didn't feel bad for him. I felt sorry for him, and I feel like there's a difference there.
At some point, as soon as you start jogging down the line, I no longer have any compassion or any sympathy or anything in that part of my brain for you. You are now an enemy of mine because you have the Yankee uniform on when you don't deserve it, and you're running down the line and you're not running down the
you're
line.
if you're getting
And
called
you've already
up,
struck out 4 times.
if you're getting called up and you're a quad A player, and you pretty much know that I'm just here because guys are injured, and as soon as guys come back, I'm no longer here.
I mean, that's the
But
only reason he was there. Yes.
it does not matter. You run through walls. You
You take
do
a baseball
everything.
to the head on the throw. Like you do what you have to do. Put your helmet down in a way that it will bounce off of your helmet.
That's what I have really. I'm actually really enjoying watching Oswaldo Cabrera, not Oswald Peraza. I mean,
him
Peraza
too.
had 3 hits too, but Oswaldo Cabrera, even though he was really struggling at the plate, like he's still making great plays in the field. He threw another guy out. I think he's up to +9 DRS. And now, again, small sample size, bad defensive metric, nerd alert, whatever you want to call it.
Forget the metrics,
an
though.
impact.
Yeah.
He is making an impact on this team, even though he has not been hitting. And I was super happy for him to get that hit. But he's just a fun player to watch, and you can tell he's trying to make the most of this opportunity. And the Yankees have no one else to turn to. That's the thing. It's like these guys are all struggling so much, and they have no one else to turn to. I mean, the one questionable decision from yesterday that you could say is, why are you letting Guzman hit after he's over in a key spot? You could have pinch hit Marwin Gonzalez, but then you're sticking Marwin Gonzalez at first base, who I know did play first base earlier in the week. But
And
that's
the
not an
second
ideal
game.
situation. Right, but that's not an ideal situation. It's like, yes, I guess that is a better alternative. Marwin ended up pinch hitting for Lo Castro. I think it was the next batter. But you're really, like, that's barely a better option. So it's just like dire straits right now. But it doesn't matter because the Minnesota Twins can't beat you. That's the thing. The Minnesota Twins cannot beat you. They found every which way to hand you specifically that first game of the doubleheader. But so far, the first 3 games in the series, I know there's another one tonight, and shit could go awry. Sonny Gray could
It's still
turn
3
the
or
tide
4
here.
done. Yeah.
Exactly. But like even when the Twins get something positive, Gary Sanchez hits a moonblast, okay, in the Monday afternoon game to tie the game, and you're like, well, Gary making his return to didn't matter. Twins are gonna blow it. The Wednesday first game, the Twins had like a million opportunities in extra innings to ice that game and tack on runs, and they just couldn't do it. And then they start booting the ball around the infield, giving the Yankees mulligans on scoring runs.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I was waiting for the bottom of the 9th inning. I think there were runners second and third or bases loaded at that point. And they were like, the broadcast was like, I don't think he's going to bury a curveball. I'm like, bury the curveball. Bury the curveball. Like, this game is going to walk off with a Gary Sanchez pass ball. We can say his name because we're playing him. So, yeah, it didn't happen. Good for him. He actually blocked the ball in the dirt, got down on the knees, and actually, bodied up the ball and kept it in front of him. So good for Gary.
Well, the frustrating thing with Gary, and I think we kind of came to realize this towards the end, is that like when he really puts his mind to it and tries, he can actually be a pretty decent player. It's just 85% of the time he's just out there loafing around, and you're like, well, then you stink. And so it's like when he's really focused, like, yeah, he'll block a ball in the dirt, but the next 3 he's not going to focus, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, that's the easy way to say it, but there's definitely some disconnects with his game. I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole.
But I mean, obviously the first 3 wins against the Twins were much needed. There's a lot of positives though to take, especially from the second game of the doubleheader. That was a dominant win. Cole was great. I know they were down early. Correa hit the home run, but IKF stepping up huge after the team had left runners on base and had been struggling with runners in scoring position again, to hit the grand slam. 2 home runs for IKF this week.
I mean, come on. Look,
2.
He's like, you guys think I suck? Oh, you guys think I suck? Like, maybe I just haven't been trying to hit home runs. First of all, he came out and just ambushed that fastball. Nobody in the world, like that pitcher's like, okay, I'm going over the plate. I'm getting ahead of him. Worst case scenario, he lines a ball up the middle or something like that. Run scores, maybe 2. Worst case scenario. Not expecting him to jump it to the left field fence. I mean, coming out with just so quick to the ball, hands directly to the ball. I'm sorry. I know that there's a lot of critical things to say about him, but he is such a pure baseball player. I love the way he plays. I don't understand why he boots the balls. He goes to third base where he won a Gold Glove. Maybe that's just where he needs to be instead of short, which makes a little bit of sense. And if he can increase the power numbers a little bit, now he's like,
no, who cares?
Well, yeah, but prototypical third baseman.
He's not okay.
You're
but
looking
like,
for some.
what do you mean? What do you mean increase the power numbers a bit?
I'm just saying, prototypical. People will bitch at him about the power even more so if he's at third base because
that's a power position.
It's a power position, right? But, not that Josh Donaldson's doing anything.
Yeah, what has Donaldson done? And it's like, I mean, what Donaldson has done is play really good defense at third base, so that's great. But he's done nothing offensively. And if you're gonna I like that they played IKF at third base in the second game and Peraza actually both games. Peraza at short, IKF at third base. Like IKF did win the Gold Glove at third base. He said at the beginning of the season he wanted to be a shortstop. That's where he felt most comfortable. We've seen him make those mental lapses on some easy plays. One thing you said, and I think it's just like Cameron Maben is just like getting into your head. You called IKF a baseball player, and it's like every time IKF does anything positive, like that's the first thing Cameron Maben said. This guy is just a baseball player.
Yeah, well, he is.
It's like, well, okay. I mean, so is Aaron Hicks, but
no, he's not. He's a golfer. That's the thing. He's not a baseball player. Like IKF, when that is said, what is meant by that is that he's just like all around, all in. This guy is a baseball dude. Like he could go and play any position. You could put him at any position, and he would hold it down.
So
he came up as a catcher.
Let's
for
analyze this. Let's break this down. When an announcer or someone refers to an MLB player as a baseball player, what does that mean exactly?
That means that this guy is a true grinder. That guy can go and play any position. That guy can. He just walks out there and he knows what to do.
He hustles.
Yeah, he's
got
grit.
Usually by the sixth inning, he's got dirt all over his uniform.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Never doesn't hustle.
He can probably bunt.
No, he could do everything. He could do everything well.
Well, not definitely bunt because no one can really bunt anymore. But he could if you have to get a bunt.
No, IKF.
You want the baseball player bunting.
He's also just got that mental clock, that little crazy person tick where at high pressure situations, which we have talked about, and obviously IKF with this grand slam is certainly in the running for nut up moment.
It's the Manscaped nut up moment. It found him. Okay, Manscaped scheduled the ad for this week, not knowing IKF was going to step up and hit the grand slam.
This is a common thread. This has happened before.
Almost every time something big happens. Maybe IKF follows the pod. Maybe he follows us on Twitter and he knows, I think it's been a month since they did a Manscaped ad. I think there's a nut up moment this week. Let me step to the plate and hit a grand slam. Maybe not. I'm not saying definitely. I'm not saying definitely not. But he found the Manscaped nut up moment, and that's what's important.
That is important. But he's got that clutch gene. He's got that gamer mentality. I think that gamer mentality also crucial for being, quote, baseball player.
So the one thing that does
Oswaldo Cabrera, baseball player.
Definitely. He's definitely a baseball player. I mean, that guy has run into at third base, remember he made that play over the tarp, face planted into the tarp. He's robbing home runs in right field. Never played right field before in his life. Throwing guys out from the outfield. Now
he's played a little bit of right field, but not much.
Okay, I mean, he's an infielder. He's a middle infielder, and he's out in right field in Yankee Stadium. And he's making plays, and he's throwing guys out. And I understand. I think there's a factor here that teams are testing him because they know he's not experienced out in right field, but they're not going to test him for much longer.
Yeah, keep testing him. He's got a freaking cannon.
And guess what? That's also important. You stopping running games because teams don't want to run on you is almost as good as throwing guys out at the plate like he's been doing. Teams don't run on Aaron Judge anymore as much because he's got a rifle. So you establish that you can make good and accurate throws, you're going to slow down running games. I totally agree with you. Oswaldo Cabrera, baseball player. People would have called Brett Gardner a baseball player, and I definitely would have agreed with that.
DJ LeMahieu, baseball player.
DJ LeMahieu, baseball player. But the one thing that flies
Aaron
in
Judge,
the face,
baseball player. Phenomenal, amazing, all-world baseball player. But he's like in a different class.
He's too good.
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
Too good.
Yeah, you don't go to that level with him because he's such a superstar.
You can't
It's
be
understood.
an MVP. You can't be an MVP. You can't hit 60 home runs and be a baseball player.
Yes, you can. He can. He is. It's understood at that point. That man goes to different places. He is dirty. He will steal a base. He will play different positions.
But that's just because
he is that guy too. That's the thing. He's a 6'2". He's a 6'2" baseball player in a 6'7" frame.
Okay.
That's how he moves. Yeah.
Did you like the umpires forget that Aaron Judge is
No.
6'7"?
He moves like a guy who's 6'2". I'm like he is that athletic. When you look at him, you're like, there's no way that guy's 6'7". If you were an alien that came down, you're like, that guy is 6'2" and runs, like a super athletic, as athletic as you can get baseball player. No, he's 6'7". He doesn't lumber around like a 6'7".
That's true. Because Aaron Judge moved to center field this year. That's a baseball player move.
Of course it is.
So, but the one thing
He can
on
hit
IKF,
leadoff. He can hit 3. He can hit 4. He can hit 2.
we keep getting distracted. The one thing that flies in the face of IKF being a baseball player is those easy plays that he continues to boot. Now, I don't know what that is, but usually baseball players make all of the easy plays too.
Well, some would say that maybe they're a little too easy, and that's where he's like just gets a little lackadaisical in his fundamentals and just doesn't.
He's not
see it
being
all the way
challenged. He's not being challenged.
Yeah. When you challenge that man, watch out. Put him in the corner. Do that. I try to corner him.
Third base corner, the hot corner, the third base position.
Yeah, well, there you go. But you put that guy in a corner, I don't know what's going to happen. He might chew your leg off to get out of a situation. He might. He might knock you the fuck out too.
So, as we said, the IKF Grand Slam was the Manscaped Nut Up moment of the week. Manscaped is back. Unfortunately, Smooth Sack Summer is coming to an end. I mean, shit, we've got a football game tonight. I did a fantasy football draft last night. That means Smooth Sack Summer is over. And that also means October baseball is around the corner. Hopefully the Yankees get their stuff on track and ready for October. But even though Smooth Sack Summer is over, Manscaped has Fresh Ball Fall.
The foliage is changing.
Fresh Ball Fall, gentlemen. They have you covered with their amazing Performance Package 4.0. We've been telling you about this. It's got a ton of great items. They sent one to both Scott and I. The Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer features cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents, an LED spotlight so you don't miss any spots, and it's waterproof so you can take it with you into the shower and not worry about it breaking. It's really honestly the best trimmer I've ever used. I've bought trimmers from the pharmacy or from Amazon, and they're just not as good as this one. It's got a chargeable battery pack, which I really like as well, so you don't have to worry about having AA or AAA batteries. They'll also send you the Weed Whacker nose and ear trimmer. You can't let those nose hairs, as we're getting older, Scott, both of us are getting up there in age. Yeah, you get these hairs flying out everywhere. Hairs falling out off the top of my head, and it's just growing other places. But the Weed Whacker, nose and
white
ear
and
trimmer,
gray. Not great situation as you age. So
not a good look.
Can't have those things tickling your nostrils.
And if you want to get adventurous in what they're sending you, they got the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, the Crop Reviver Ball Toner. Try them out. See if you like them. You might. You never know. You might never go back after you put some ball deodorant on. They also send you a brand new pair of boxers and a travel bag, which is super convenient. I had an old toiletry travel bag that was falling apart. I got a new one from Manscaped, and I love it. IKF stepped up huge this week for the Nut Up moment. I want all of our listeners out there to also step up huge by going to manscaped.com and using code Bronx21. And that gets you 20% off plus free shipping. Again, manscaped.com. Bronx21 is the code. 20% off plus free shipping. Thank you so much for Manscaped for supporting us. And please go support them. It's honestly a really great product. So you might be asking why we gave IKF the nut up moment and not Cabrera for the walk-off single in the first game. I mean, the first game comeback, I think, obviously was a better, more exciting game. It was a more hard-fought victory. As I said, the Twins, I think, gave some stuff away there. But I just thought the moment itself, the Grand Slam, as the Yankees were losing, even though Cole was pitching a really good game and the team was still stranding runners, thought that Grand Slam deserved the nut-up moment. And he also did tie the game in the 12th inning with a single up the middle, which set up the walk-off for Cabrera in game one. So that, I mean, I just, the day as well, IKF definitely deserved it.
No doubt. And just to go back and give a little bit of credit to Cabrera too, the piece of hitting that he did. I mean, he basically slapped his bat at the ball to go the other way to take advantage of the infield alignment that the Twins had put on there. And to his credit, like baseball player, did what he had to do, took what was given to him, and got that ball through the infield. Like at that point, you need to get the ball through the infield in some way, shape, or form. And he had you saw really good bat to ball skills, which I was happy to see. And he had been struggling. He had been struggling mightily. Was not didn't have a hit in the game. Came up in a big spot and did it. So definitely like he did nut up in that moment. IKF, as you mentioned, really was attacking the ball, attacking the strike zone for every cliche we could possibly put in here. When he got that base hit up the middle, just immediately jumped on the pitch. The pitching staff probably should have thought back to that at bat when he jumped on the single to score the run just to start the thing off because that's exactly what he did. He jumped on that pitch, fast hands through the zone. Um, possibly the fastest hands in the East, no longer with Jackson Frazier.
They were talking about. It throws me for a loop every time. They're talking about why IKF wasn't bunting there with the ghost runner on second base, and then I think the Kay and Maben quickly realized, well, it's like you got Florial coming up next, so it's like you just take your chances. Hopefully, IKF gets a hit, and he was down 0-2, I believe, in that count.
Even Florial, I mean, he had an opportunity to win the game. He worked a full count, so to his credit, he worked a full count. He doesn't look like he looks like he's been overmatched on many occasions. But there was bases loaded, full count. You know damn well a fastball is coming over the plate. So if you're looking in that zone, you're looking for that spot. If it's anywhere out there, you're laying off of it, which has been his MO, not being able to recognize certain things at the plate. But to his credit, the fastball came down the pipe. He put a good swing on it. Ball went up the middle, and unfortunately, that jackass who plays shortstop for the Minnesota Twins made a very nice play
in the ninth.
to throw him out
in the ninth. Yeah. And it's like these guys are coming up. These minor leagues are coming up in game winning situations, and it's like, well, we've got Stanton on the bench, we've got LeMahieu on the bench. I know they're banged up, but they're just not getting pinch hit opportunities. That just like proves how injured they are. And Donaldson is on the paternity list. Rizzo was just placed on the IL. You see that he was having migraines as a side effect of, I believe, the epidural. So it's just like
It's a lot of juice. It's a lot of juice going through your body. I'm sure it probably creates some kind of a
why. Hold on, I feel like we glossed
pressure
over
with
this
your.
last episode. Why did he get an epidural? I thought an epidural just like completely numbs your body.
It numbs. It does. It's supposed to. I believe the epidural. It's directly into your spine, right? So it's a. But I'm sure there's some kind of a last. Obviously, there's some kind of a lasting effect similar to a cortisone shot, I would assume. But this one is directly into the spine. The reason it's called an epidural, again, I am a doctor, but this is not my area of expertise necessarily. They do have a whole separate category for this type of shit. Um, and so my people are usually the ones that do this. But however,
You're not an anesthesiologist.
anesthesiologist,
Yeah.
that's right. And this one, the reason it's an epidural is because it goes directly into the spine, which is a different animal. That just sounds like a different animal. And I assume it's to relax certain, you know, part of the spine that he's having, a problem with, whereas a cortisone shot can't get to that place. I don't know, but that's what it sounds like. So I'm sure there are side effects. Different pressures are happening in your body. The blood flow may feel a little different, which can cause headaches.
I'm kind of getting to the point with Rizzo where I don't know that he's coming back this year. And if he does come back, what is he?
Um, I mean, I think he's going to come back. Definitely think he's going to come back. What is he? That's to be. He's better than the other options, unless
No,
LeMahieu can
I
play
don't
and
think so.
LeMahieu's healthy.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Obviously, if LeMahieu's also injured, then you're dealing with two injured first basemen, and it's, I guess, flip a coin. But if LeMahieu is healthy, who do you have more
Well, LeMahieu's
confidence
the
in?
other guy, but we're talking about two injured people. So take them both out of the equation. Let's talk about LeMahieu not being the other guy because that's a clear, obvious decision, right? But if you have both of those guys on the IL or injured, just not playing at their top thing, who's better, an injured Rizzo, or a 75% or 65% Rizzo LeMahieu, or
Ronald Guzman.
Ronald Guzman, who is Juan Guzman's kid, isn't he?
What
And
about
then, or yeah, like you're not looking at or you're not looking at great options. Gonzalez is the other option, which you could consider 100% Gonzalez, 70% these other guys. That's a decision to be made, actually.
what about we glossed over potentially the biggest baseball player on the Yankees roster, Matt
The
Carpenter.
biggest, yes.
What if Matt Carpenter can come back? I know he's got a foot issue.
He's got a
Uh,
foot thing.
he's
He's
got
got a foot.
he's got foot
It's
stuff.
football season. He's got a foot.
He's got foot stuff. What if he's back? What if you got 90% or 80% of Matt Carpenter? That's a first base option as well.
How much first base did Matt Carpenter
I
play?
don't give
I mean,
a shit.
he's
He
a ball
played-
player. That's
he-
a baseball player.
He played 0 right field and he went out there and played right field. I don't give a
That's
shit.
that's a baseball player. That's a baseball player with old man strength too. Like that's like another level
He might not be ready
of
though.
clutch gene.
He's not ready now. He might not be ready. We did get a bunch of injury updates this week, and Carpenter seems to be further away. But I mean, I think first base is a real glaring hole for this team going forward, just because of all the injuries, and we're seeing the depth is not great there, and it's just like the lineup when these lineups are putting out. I'm just like, why would any opposing manager allow their pitcher to pitch to Aaron Judge? How is Aaron Judge still getting pitches that he can hit home runs on? It's baffling.
Because guys make mistakes. That's why. Because guys make mistakes. He did walk 3 times yesterday
He
afternoon.
should have walked
But when
4
you
times.
when you make a mistake, over the plate and you try to get too cute in trying to pitch around somebody, that's when you are going to pay because Aaron Judge doesn't allow you. I said this in June. Like this guy is so locked in that you cannot make mistakes against him. He's that type of guy right now. And yes, he went through a couple periods where he's a little bit more vulnerable. But my God, it's been pretty much the entire season where you make a mistake to Aaron Judge, you leave a fastball over the plate to Aaron Judge, and it's going over the fence. Like that's it. You don't get very many of them back. The other night you could see him a little off, like he was, but like barely. He was fouling balls directly back. He had a good at bat where he did not hit a home run, but he's locked in. He's locked in. You just can't make that mistake to him, and that's where I think guys are, trying to pitch around him. But sometimes when you get too cute or you get a little air, little juice of confidence, like the young guy did it with Minnesota, who struck him out the first at bat.
Yeah.
Little false confidence there. You come back and you're like, oh, I can strike this guy out, and then he deposits one over the fence for you.
And Glaber did make them pay in the first game by hitting the game tying home run, but still, I mean, he's clearly been the best offensive player in baseball this year, and he's super locked in right now. He's got 55 home runs, which is now the all-time home run leader at the new Yankee Stadium, which is just like a fun nugget.
And right-handed hitter, and past A-Rod, so A-Rod is no longer in the books for anything.
Yeah, you could
which is
just
nice.
you could just see like all of the Yankees like front office just like so happy when they can erase A-Rod's name from the top of lists and just have Aaron Judge. Although who knows if Aaron Judge is a San Francisco Giant next year, that could be different. But
At least it's not. But at least it's not A-Rod.
I know how my reaction would be. Like I remember my reaction whenever the Yankees would let like David Ortiz beat them, but it's like
Yeah.
Manny was coming up next. So it's like you got to pitch to David Ortiz in some situations but like you got Gleyber Torres coming up next or you got Oswaldo Cabrera coming up next. I mean, I'm sorry. I'll take my chances with anyone else in this lineup right now versus Aaron Judge. You said pitchers make mistakes. If the bases are empty, it should be an intentional walk. If it's not like a situation where you're putting the tying run into scoring position, it should be an intentional walk. And then if you are putting the tying run in scoring position, maybe it's not an intentional walk, but you better be damn careful that there's nothing close to the strike zone that he can hit a home run on.
So this is a great point to talk about because as a transition from the health discussion, if these guys don't get back, if they're not, and that's where I believe they're really setting themselves up because they know this to be very true. Once you start entering in postseason play and you start getting against the best teams and their best pitchers, if you don't have good support system, a good backup to Aaron Judge behind him, protection in that lineup, he is not going to get pitches. And those guys, the number 1 and 2 starters on playoff teams, can pitch around him, will pitch around him, and will not make those same mistakes over the plate as a rookie from Minnesota coming up with acting like his shit don't stink or he's
That rookie
invincible.
was probably feeling
It's
right at
huge.
home. He was facing a AAA lineup. Okay, like it's like, okay, it is Yankee Stadium, but first of all, it's game one of a doubleheader at 3:00 in the afternoon. There's like 72 people here, and I'm facing a AAA lineup other than Aaron Judge.
And I struck Aaron Judge out the first time.
Yeah.
Balls of steel. Here we go. I am invincible.
So,
But
no, but you're right
yeah,
about the playoff scenarios.
you got to get these guys healthy because if they don't have that protection in the lineup come playoff time,
He's not seeing anything.
He will be completely minimized. He will not be a factor because they will not pitch to him.
They'll play a division series. He'll walk 12 times. He won't.
Yes.
He won't even. And it's like if there's no one behind him to get some base hits, guess what? He's gonna have a really good on base percentage, and that's about it. Because
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about like all of these injuries in this lineup right now. Like I understand, like you can't expect the lineups that they put out there yesterday to score a ton of runs, but you've got to get some combination of DJ Stanton and Rizzo back to healthy. You just have to, or else this team is going nowhere. Absolutely nowhere.
Yeah. DJ and Rizzo definitely massive guys that they need back.
You don't think
that
Stanton
goes.
is a massive guy they need back? I
Oh,
mean,
Stanton is no.
he
My
took a
fault.
swing. He took a swing on Monday and like hobbled over in pain.
Yes, no, he is an important factor, obviously, in the lineup. I'm thinking more of like the full team and in the field because they need a first baseman more so. But no, absolutely. I think Stanton coming back healthy. The problem with Stanton right now is that even when he came back and he was hobbling over, um, before he was hobbling over, he was struggling mightily. And this is when we saw when Stanton can't hit that high fastball, that's a problem. And he was getting exposed on the high fastball. And he's been exposed on the high fastball before. I remember back to I think it was 2 years ago or even last year when his timing is off, he is so susceptible to that high fastball that he just gets peppered and he can't touch it. He just can't touch it. And as we know, if you can get a Stanton that's locked in, he might be the best player on the planet for 2 weeks. So, they need him back for at least, a little bit of a precursor to the playoffs, just so that he could try to get his timing back. But I think that's what they're looking at. They do need him there. But first baseman, if you don't have a first baseman and you're trying out Marwin Gonzalez as your first baseman, that's a problem.
Of course, that's a problem. But if the rest of the lineup is healthy, then it's like okay, you have him towards the bottom of the lineup. I don't know. I mean,
But if he's going out there, that means Rizzo and LeMahieu are not out there.
You're right. And then it's like, what is Glaber going to be? I mean, he had big hit yesterday, but he's been the worst offensive player in baseball. I don't know how long they're going to ride Peraza at short. I don't know if IKF is just going to be. I guess could IKF be a first base option or I guess you would do Donaldson at third, IKF at first, right?
I mean, again, this will catch some shit because people see him.
The twinkle in your eye when you said, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, he could play first base, no doubt about it. He plays third base. If you could play third base, you could play first base, unless your name is Alex Rodriguez.
Just gonna say, that was attempted. It did not go well.
I don't understand how he could be as bad as he was.
One time you're used to one side of the field, and then it's the inverse option.
So if you're gonna look at baseball players, like at one point I'd be like Alex Rodriguez, short to third. Okay, maybe baseball.
He was
player.
never
the first, not a baseball player.
He was
not a baseball player.
Alex Rodriguez was never a baseball player.
No, just the look of him. Just the look of him.
I like this baseball player thing.
When you wax your eyebrows, you're not a baseball player.
I'm just trying to think about.
I feel like you're out. If you wax your eyebrows, you're out.
Even if you got to take care of it, so you got a unibrow, you got some hairs in the middle, you got to take care of that.
You can like
Pluck.
manicure. You can take care of it. You don't need to.
You can use the
plow.
To be clear, you can manscaped and still
can
be a
manscape
baseball
it.
player. Yeah.
No wax. You
can't go to a salon
for your eyebrows
and get your eyebrows did and be a baseball player. Glad we cleared that up. Anything else you want to touch on from the first 3 games of this series? I did like, Fun fact, okay? You probably remember this, but when Aaron Judge and Gary Sanchez homer in the same game, the Yankees record is tremendous.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good. Was that a K stat that he threw
That
out
was
there?
me.
That was
That was an Andrew
Oh,
Rotondi original.
all right. Um, yes, that is a good one. That is a good one. When I saw that was a shot that Gary hit. A shot.
I think it was the
It was easily the longest one
third,
that anybody hit in the as an opponent, right?
yeah, third longest in the majors this season, 470 plus. Like, yeah, we know
Four seventy.
When
My
Gary
God,
Sanchez lays into one, it goes far.
it does go far.
He
He's got a
also
lot of
looks a little
ass to
thinner
throw into that
too.
ball.
He's looking a little thinner.
Yeah, he's still got some ass behind
The
that ball.
beard helps. Like, as we all know, gentlemen, you got a beard, which you got to keep. Manscaped, please go to manscaped.com, use code Bronx21. You gotta keep your beard in tip top shape. But if you're a little heavy, the beard can hide that double chin.
Oh, it can make your face look fuller though too because there's more tension there.
Yeah.
So you got to figure that out.
So tonight they've got Sonny Gray versus Nestor returning from the IL. He had that groin injury. If there's one guy, I mean, the fact that it's Nestor's first time back from the IL is not ideal. But if there's one pitcher I want facing Sonny Gray, it's Nestor Cortes, because I know Nestor Cortes. Can a pitcher be a baseball player?
I was going there next. If a pitcher could be a baseball player, Nestor Cortes, baseball player. Just because I think the other part about being a baseball player is you kind of have to have a little bit of layman in you. You got to have to be
Yes.
like,
Oh, if you
you
didn't
gotta,
pick up on that, yeah.
you got to be a little bit of a blue collar guy and be adaptable to a lot of
Do
things.
you know what this stems from? This stems from every person, every guy who failed as a baseball player in little league or in junior high or in high school, who could not hack it as a baseball player, but they hustled. They tried their ass off, and they want to think that if you put me on the baseball diamond, I might not hit a home run, but I'm going to run hard and I'm going to slide. And that's what they want to see in their professional baseball players, and that's who they attribute to be a baseball player.
Yes, but there's also flexibility and competency that comes along with that, where you're a little
You got to be a
Timmy
world-class
Timmy
athlete.
Timmy runs fast. Ain't enough for the JV baseball team. But yes, Nestor has that grit, has a little bit of that I'll do anything mentality. The other thing about being a baseball player, if the manager calls your number to do anything, you say no problem. I got to skip, and don't say a goddamn thing. And you go out there and do your job. That's
Yeah.
the other thing. Which IKF, apparently, the conversation of Booney going to IKF, a falafel, got you at third, got to skip. Like not even saying anything about it, just going out there and doing his job.
Well, what could he say?
It doesn't matter. Most people might say something.
He has not earned the right to claim shortstop for the New York Yankees this year. He needs
It doesn't
to play
matter.
wherever his name is penciled into the lineup at.
You don't need to say that to him. He knows that. You don't need to say that to him. Don't make that observation. He knows that.
But it is, I would, for the next couple weeks, see how it plays out. Would just give Peraza a chance at shortstop and see how he does, right? Like, what do you have to lose at this point? The lineup is just in shambles, right? Like, they're trying out bootleg lineups right now. There is no downside in my mind to shifting IKF around. Right now, he's going to play third base because Donaldson is out because he just had a baby. But, like, when Donaldson comes back, he has not earned the right to be the starting third baseman every day. So you got IKF at third base. We know IKF can probably play second base. And put him at first base. You might need him later in the season or in the playoffs at first base. Put him at first base. Why the hell not?
Donaldson also Gold Glove. Like both of those guys can handle the leather very well. I don't know, Ilya, if you can check. Has Donaldson played first base in his career? Like I could see him getting over there too. Older guy, a little bit of that old man strength. Now I don't know if this is his first child or not, but has some dad strength, which is important. You playing for something different now?
I bet this is not Donaldson's first kid.
It might. I started late in life, so some guys start late in life with having the kid. You got to, as Derek Jeter said, you got to focus on your craft. Like I would not have been a good father if I was playing baseball. So
yeah, that's why Derek Jeter didn't want to settle down when he was a player.
Yes, that's exactly it. There's no doubt about it. But that could be an option as well. But I think you do. You're right. You need to start looking at what that could be because you can't guarantee, you can't depend on you can't depend on Rizzo and LeMahieu as you would want to. Obviously, you want to, but you can't because of the health, and it's not in your hands. It's out of their control. So you better have a pretty good backup plan at that point. And yeah, I agree with you. Peraza, why not throw him a short? IKF can play third base. Put him somewhere else. Like he can play all over. Get that out of the system now. Make sure that it's he's getting acclimated to something a little different, just in case.
I don't see a downside to just playing Peraza at shortstop right now for two weeks. Just give him 2 weeks, right? It's like there's really no downside. We've also got Derek Jeter Day on Friday. It's weird that they're doing the ceremony on a Friday for Derek Jeter. Usually they do those things like Sunday afternoon.
Sunday.
Yeah, maybe because his first NFL Sunday, Jeter didn't want to be overshadowed. But also, that's classic Yankees. I feel like they've done this before where they've done ceremonies on the first football Sunday because they know that's going to be a lightly attended game anyway. So they just get asses in the seats. But I'm surprised they're not doing Jeter, at least on Saturday.
Maybe Jeter said, let's do Friday. I'm in town. I'm not there on Saturday.
Ilya just put in the notes, Donaldson, 5 games at first base, 5 games at shortstop, 10 games at catcher.
Yeah, he was kind of like
he came up as a catcher, didn't he?
I thought he came up as a second baseman.
No, in Oakland, I think he came up like he was a catcher. I don't know if he came up as the catcher, but he definitely was. He definitely caught. I learned that earlier this year. So was he playing first base in Toronto when his arm was all jacked
Oakland,
up?
Actually, 2010, 2 games. It's like super spotty. It's like a handful of innings.
Okay.
Well,
He's only started 1 game at first base, and that was in 2010 with Oakland.
I'm just keeping Donaldson at third base and giving IKF the
super utility label.
Super utility label. Yeah, I feel more confident with that.
Sure.
Couple other injury notes. So Harrison Bader is taking batting practice at Yankee Stadium, and he's got a rehab assignment set for the 13th. So we could see him back sooner than later. Severino pitched for Somerset, and he's expected to be back with the Yankees Tuesday in Boston. He did give
Pause right there for a second. Pause right there. So Severino comes back. He's in the rotation. Okay, let's just say that's the case. That's not a definite, but let's just say he's there. Where does everybody else fit in? Where does Jordan Montgomery fit in if he's on this team? If that's the case, I'm curious. Because Herman's out, potentially would be out, or Severino would be in the bullpen. So I guess you could do that.
So is Jordan
But
Montgomery?
we're talking about the 5th starter at that point.
Is Jordan Montgomery pitching like he is with the Cardinals, where he's been one of the best pitchers in baseball, or is he pitching like he did with the Yankees?
Let's say he improved on the Yankees, and let's say he's pitching to more his career line of like what is he, a 3.3, 3.4 career guy, somewhere around there, I'd say. But winning ball games, getting deep into ball games, which I expected from him anyway. Like he's that guy.
Well, then
it's a situation. Now maybe that's a good situation for the Yankees because then you can absolutely use Severino as a weapon in the bullpen.
I think that, I get your point, right? Like, and maybe that's what they were thinking. But like, let's see if Severino actually comes back and is a starting pitcher, or is he an opener, or is he a bullpen arm?
Yep. And if Harrison Bader can come back and play, again, I have no idea what to expect from this guy. No idea. Bronxville native, love that. That's pretty much it. He's a Yankees fan playing baseball. Cool. If you are an all-time defender in center field, I like that. I like that a lot. I want my pitching staff, which is the strength of this team, to be backed up and to make sure that they have as much defense as humanly possible. So if he's going to tighten that up and he allows for guys to play their more natural positions and he just adds to the coverage in the outfield, and I don't have to see Tim LeCastro playing, starting a game, and I just see him pinch running at a particular point, that's fine. That's what I want. I don't want to see Tim LeCastro get any at-bats. 0 at-bats for Tim LeCastro. So if Harrison Bader can come back and be a defender that can do some things at the plate, he's an upgrade to Hicks, and therefore Hicks is relegated.
But as long as Benintendi's out, Hicks is not relegated.
Right. But at the same time, you're now adding another guy not named Tim LeCastro. That's, I think, probably the bigger point. Because if you have Hicks and LeCastro, problem.
Yes, because
But with Cabrera's emergence and playing the outfield, you can still. I know Benintendi's out and he's not Benintendi by any means, but that does limit Aaron Hicks. It limits you being forced to use Aaron Hicks at that point because
Aaron Hicks got his first extra base hit since like 2007 last night.
cool. Get another one tonight. Let's see what happens. Throw a couple of them back to back, and I'll look at you again.
No, he only gets them every other month. That's it. That's his plan. Every other month.
He's taken over in the spot for Joey Gallo.
And then Britton joins Scranton and through rehab outing. So
that's exciting. That's exciting.
I guess he's going to be pitching for a contract, right? Because
he is pitching for a contract. He's also pitching for a freaking title. Like he comes back and is an effective reliever. That's huge, huge. Chapman also throwing again. We'll see. Like I said before, as we all know, it's going to take him a lot longer to get back.
Honestly,
and probably get right.
If I don't see Aroldis Chapman pitching in a Yankee uniform again, I'm not going to be upset. Like I really don't care at this point.
No, but if he can be the guy, a guy that's effective, all right, it's another weapon potentially.
Yeah, all right, we're going to end today's episode with the top 5 games of the month. It has been a month since we did this segment last, so we'll run through them, and then we will pick the winner and decide if it beats out the game that has won so far, which was the May 10th game, the Stanton 3-run homer and the Judge 3-run walk-off home run against Toronto. All right, first candidate, you were at this game, Scott, the IKF game in Boston where he hit the home run and the sac bunt to take the lead. What do you remember about this game? Do you remember this game?
I remember that the food options in Fenway are dog shit. I remember that the stadium does have the charm. I remember that the feeling of the crowd, it felt like a much different game than it was. We're between a first place and last place team in the middle of August. And I remember IKF being the guy that I always thought he would be. And I appreciated him for doing that while I was in attendance. And it was the only game they won that weekend. So I also appreciate him for coming out and supporting my brother on his bachelor party.
So we just talked about baseball player. We talked
player.
about baseball players a lot this episode. I also think there's such thing as baseball stadiums or maybe baseball fields or something like that, whatever you want to call it, that same sort of vibe. I believe Fenway has that vibe. I do not believe New Yankee Stadium has that vibe. And I've said this, I am a fan of Fenway Park. I hate the people that play at Fenway Park, but I love Fenway Park. I think it's a really fun atmosphere, fun place to go. I love the energy, like you just said, even though it's a first place versus a last place team. When it's Yankees Red Sox at Fenway Park, I've probably been to 30 Yankees Red Sox games at Fenway Park. Every single time, no matter the standings, it's a hell of a lot of fun. And so for that, I appreciate it.
Look, I'm going to disagree with you because I understand what your point is. I don't think you have the same conversation between players and then places. When you look at older stadiums, then there's that nostalgia piece of it. There's like a piece of baseball history.
That's part of baseball.
Fine. I get it. Like, and the fact that it is the way that it's made, the sides are on top of the stadium. I will say the outfield is like you go way far back, which is annoying. But
don't sit there. Spend an extra $30 and don't pick that seat.
It was like spend an extra $200 not to, and I had 20 people. It was impossible not to. So anyway, the new Yankee Stadium in the moments, that place is live.
It has nothing to do about the moments.
But it does. It has to do with the crowd. That place is still getting broken in. It's been here for 13 years now, or 12 and a half years. Every year it gets even more broken in and broken in and more broken in. And I know it's a different dynamic than the old stadium, but my God, in 2019 in the playoffs, that place was shaking. I felt it. We felt it shaking for the first time in a while.
I'm not disagreeing with that. It's like you go there on a midsummer game against someone, and it's lifeless. It's freaking lifeless in there.
Yeah, but at night for the big rivalries, the place is packed and it's still got a ton of energy. So I disagree with you because I think at night when the night games happen, and this was a night game on a Saturday, so let's not give Fenway all the credit in the world. If it were a Tuesday game at 1:00, might have been felt a little different, even though it's Yankees Red Sox.
Do you know why it's not? It's because And now it depends what you're looking for in a stadium. There's a lot of options at Yankee Stadium. Okay, you can also walk around. You don't have to sit in your seat to see the game because it's an open concourse. Now, I do appreciate that because if I'm in line getting a beer, I can turn around and I can see the field. Like, that is really cool. But there's plenty of options at Yankee Stadium other than the game happening on the field. There's nothing to do at Fenway Park other than watch the baseball game.
That's true, and that's just kind of the, you know, to the letter of it being an older stadium, and they just
Yeah.
haven't upgraded anything
Now, and I get it.
forever.
Fenway Park has its downsides. You could be sitting behind a pole and you don't see shit. The monster seats are garbage. If anyone out there has ever thought about buying a monster seat, don't.
Why?
You can't see the outfield. You can't see anything in left field. It's awful. The perspective is awful, and it's like a $400 ticket. It's
It's an
shit.
expensive ticket. I
It's
snuck up
shit.
on there at one point. I never bought a ticket to get up there. I just got up there because I know people. But you know, it was fun. It was cool to be up there. And when you hear a ball go off the monster, it's a cool thing.
The
So you're not there to see the outfield. You're there to experience what it's like on the monster.
Sure,
It's a
and I
different
was
thing.
in the monster seats. It was a midweek game. The Red Sox were playing some other team. I don't remember the team. So fine, I didn't really care that I couldn't see left field because whatever.
You didn't even give a shit about the team or the game. You were just there to have a good time.
I was there to spend $19 on beer. Yeah, that's what I was doing. Anyway, the second game of the top 5 candidates was the August 21st victory over the Blue Jays, 4-2 final. Benintendi, I guess this was Benintendi's signature Yankee moment, the 2-run homer in the 8th inning for the lead. That was a good game. Then the follow-up day against the Mets, Judge and the Yankees got to Max Scherzer. This was big. This was a big couple days because the Yankees have been struggling against the Blue Jays. Remember on that Saturday, Garrett Cole had just got knocked around in like the 4th or the 5th inning. And then so for them to win on that Sunday and then beat the Mets 2 in a row, that was definitely big. The next candidate is September 4th, the final game in Tampa. Yankees got by 2-1 by the skin of their teeth. Judge hit a home run. It's probably Montes' best start as a Yankee. And Holmes, although he made it interesting, he got the save. And then the final candidate, even though the IKF Grand Slam happened and we named that the nut up moment, the better game was game 1, the comeback in extras, Glaber to tie it, Oswaldo's walk-off single. So what was your favorite game so far of the month?
A favorite game
Or best game?
or
What is the best? What is the best game?
well, we were using criteria for that Toronto game as well as like impactful as well. And when you're looking at impactful game, I'm looking at the last game in Tampa as the most important game, the most important win that they had. If they lost that game, I believe it would have been 2 in the
2.
loss column potentially
Yeah.
to Tampa. Totally different feeling. And so that was almost a must win. Like that's as close to a must win as you could possibly get to. And they figured out a way to win that game. So, you know, whether it was pretty or not, whether it was conventional or not, they won the game. End of story. That's all that matters. So I'm looking at that one as probably the biggest, most important win of the year, to be honest. Because at this point in the season, if you get to and you have Tampa again at home, but you have a 2 game lead. That's just like it's a different mentality. Tampa has way too much confidence at that point. You know, coming in with a sweep, if that were the case. So that's the game. That's definitely the game. As far as like how good of a game the game 1, it was fun yesterday. It was so freaking long, but that 9th inning was exciting. They missed opportunity, so I'm going back to Tampa. Like that was the biggest one for me.
I agree with you. That's probably their biggest win of the season. Now, again, we might look back in a month and the
Context
Yankees.
matters, nuance matters to when and how these happen as well.
Right. Like if they get swept this weekend by Tampa, it's like, well, okay, that win really didn't do much for you. But if they win 2 out of
Or
3
was
against
it that
Tampa,
much more? But is it that much bigger because
what
they
I'm
did?
saying is if they end up blowing the division, then that win ultimately didn't do anything for them. But if they clinch the division, that win could be the pivotal moment in the season. So I agree with you. Now, does it supersede the so far winner of the season because of the importance on that game?
I think so. As you get later in the season, you have to look at these games a little differently. At that time, when they you know with the home runs, the Toronto game, I think you know held held up for a long time. But given how this team has struggled so mightily since the All-Star break, and they needed that game in the worst way. They put themselves in this situation for it to be a big game, so that's where it gets a little unfair, I guess. Um, but yeah, as a fan, I'm looking at this season right now. That was the biggest win.
Okay. I mean, I'm not
And
going to
and
argue.
and the other piece of this also, I believe, and check me if I'm not correct on this, but I believe that win against Tampa also can was the clincher for the series win on the season. The tiebreaker swings to the Yankees because of that victory, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not going to argue with you. It was not the most exciting game. If we're going by most exciting games or coolest games or whatever, that one should not win. But it probably is the most important win so far this year. I mean, the game that I still think of wasn't even our winner so far, and that was the Houston, second comeback win when they were getting no hit. But okay, so we've got a new winner, the 2-1 victory over Tampa because of its insane importance.
And who carried the Yankees on that game?
Well, Judge carried the weekend. I mean, he was the
Judge.
entire offense. It was like, I forget the exact stat, but it was like no one else scored a run. Only one other person even had like an RBI or something. It was insane how much he did, which is again why I go back to it's like how our team's still letting him beat them when the lineup is this decimated and this bad. How do you pitch to him? I mean, he should be getting Barry Bonds treatment right now. Intentional walks with the bases loaded as long as it doesn't tie the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a credit to him and his patience at the plate and his ability to not chase anything outside of his zone. I mean, it really is. And when you make a mistake, and there are not very many of those opportunities, he's making you pay for those opportunities,
And
for those chances. So, going back to the Toronto game, like Judge, big 3-run shot, like huge home run. This is even bigger because this is when the team has been not playing well. You have to win a crucial game, and Judge straps you on again and carries the team to get enough to win the game. So that's
he's
the
gonna
other
hit.
purpose of
He's
it.
gonna hit like 64, 65, 66 home runs. Which 60 home runs? MLB Network, our guy Brian Kenny did a good segment on this. I saw on Twitter. Sort of.
Do we want to call him our guy? Is he our guy?
I like Brian
He's our
Kenny.
guy. He's a friend. He's a
Yeah,
friend of the
he had a
program. He
bad
says
take.
he says some crazy shit, but he's a friend
Yeah,
of the
he had a
program.
bad take on Stanton this year, but otherwise, I like him. He was just sort of talking about how rare 60 homer seasons are, even to this day. Even though home runs are out of control across Major League Baseball over the past half decade, 60 home runs still barely ever happens. If you
50
now,
also.
50 has happened, an okay amount of times.
But not that many.
Not that
Also, you,
no,
you go back to 50, and 50 is actually is one
but
of
if
those
you
lines in the sand
his
too.
point was if you remove the 5 steroid years when it was McGuire through Bonds hitting all those home
Yeah.
runs, if you remove those, no one's hit 60 home runs since Roger Maris, and before that it was Babe Ruth. Okay, so you're talking about Babe Ruth, Roger Maris, Aaron Judge are the people, other than the freaks who are roided out, Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, and Barry Bonds, to hit 60 home runs in Major League Baseball history. It's not
Sure.
going to get the buzz. It's not going to get the love because the steroid era has completely saturated the home run records. But I'm sorry, 60 home runs is unbelievable. And he's going to
This is
do
one
it.
of the most. It's one of the most. Knock on wood right now, please freaking knock on wood because he may not get a ton of pitches at all. Literally knock on wood. I need to see you doing it. And the people need to hear it. Thank you. So yes, it's an amazing feat. And when you look at how the home runs are down this year also, and that Schwarber's at like what 37, something like that.
He's lapping the field.
Yeah, it's wild. He's got a dominant, commanding lead in the home run category against everybody else. So
And when there's a
it's
bunch
truly,
of jackass writers out there that vote for Shohei Ohtani because he pitches and hits, which I get is super impressive and super valuable, the Los Angeles Angels are, what's their record?
it doesn't matter because that's not considered. So why are you even
They're
looking it up?
17 games below 500. It's like, fuck off. Aaron Judge is the MVP. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today. Oh, that was a good episode. I was heated because I came in hot because my microphone wasn't working. And
Microphone wasn't working, and I dropped off. So I appreciate
yeah.
everybody. Hopefully, the second half of this was okay. I'm on some AirPods, had some technical difficulties in the middle of a move, and weird things are happening right now. But we're still going to pod.
Yes, it's been a chaotic and hectic couple weeks for both of us. So if there's been fewer episodes, shorter episodes, that is why. Obviously we're gonna be gearing up for the playoffs. So things should calm down by then, and the playoffs will be its own animal. So thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back at you on Monday.